The fine china is out, which means the script is set. I am supposed to clap while they hand my work, my $200,000, to someone else. They think I will swallow it like I always do. But tonight is different. One forged signature is about to turn this dining room into a courtroom. By dessert, the story changes hands. By the time the last chair scrapes back, so does the power. My name is Harper Lane. I am 33 years old. I work as a data analyst for Northlight Analytics, and I was exactly 12 minutes late pulling up to my parents' house in Maple Ridge. The Oregon twilight was doing that damp, gray thing it does, but the house was lit up like a holiday. I saw it through the windshield, and my stomach tightened. Too many lights. Then I walked in, and the tightness turned into a cold knot. They had the good china out. The special occasion. China. The plates with the thin gold rim that my mother, Diane, saved for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and announcements. It was a random Tuesday in October. My pulse kicked up. This was not a just checking in dinner. This was a performance. "Harper, finally," my mother said, wiping her hands on an apron she never actually cooks in. Her face was stretched into that familiar expression of manufactured pride, the one that always came before a request. Beside her, my father, Russell Gale, just nodded, his own look a poorly guarded secret. "Sorry, traffic," I mumbled, shedding my coat. "Well, you're here now?" From the dining room, a bright, trilling laugh. Oh my God, he actually just texted me back. He said the pitch deck was visionary. Can you believe it? Visionary. My sister, Lila, emerged. At 25, she still vibrated with the energy of a freshman who had just discovered energy drinks. She was waving her phone, her face flushed with the thrill of her wellness app startup, a project that had so far consumed thousands of my dollars in seed money, which was really just Lila needs a new laptop money. "That's great, honey," Diane said, beaming. "Hi, Harper," Lila said, a brief glance in my direction before her eyes snapped back to the screen. "You have to see this. Mom, this is the investor from Portland. He is obsessed." I just nodded. Moving toward the dining room, I already knew my place. For years, I had been the family's designated adult, the reliable one, the one who paid for the emergencies that were never emergencies at all, the new transmission for Dad's truck, the medical bills from Mom's elective procedure, Lila's coding boot camp, which she quit after 6 weeks, all of it chipped away at the down payment I was meticulously saving, a separate account I guarded like a fortress. Every withdrawal felt like giving away a piece of my own future. The setup was wrong. The table was a stage. My father was at the head, a position he usually saved for holidays. My mother was to his right, and Lila was seated directly across from me. They had put me in the audience, and her in the spotlight. We ate. The pot roast was dry. The conversation was all Lila. Her projections, her user interface, her branding. I pushed a carrot around my plate, the gold-rimmed china feeling cold under my fork. I stayed quiet, analyzing. Data was my job. I collect, I observe, I find the pattern. The pattern here was escalating. The china, the seating, the relentless focus on Lila's wins. They were building to something. Finally, Russell put down his fork. He picked up his water glass and tapped it with a spoon. The small, clear ding silenced the room. "Well," he started, beaming at Lila, "we have some rather wonderful news. Your mother and I have been thinking a lot about the future." My stomach dropped. "Lila is on the verge of something incredible," he continued. "Something truly special, but it needs a real push, a serious injection of capital to get it off the ground." I looked at my mother. Her smile was brittle. "So," Russell said, his voice swelling with paternal largesse, "we've made a decision. We're selling the house." The air went still. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Selling the house? The house I had helped maintain? The house I had poured my own savings into, fixing the roof leak just last spring? "And," he said, turning his gaze fully to Lila, who was practically vibrating, "we are giving all of it, the entire $200,000 in equity, to Lila. to fund her company. The words hit me like physical objects. $200,000. My brain, the analyst, instantly went to work, ignoring the ringing in my ears. It started running the numbers, a furious internal calculation. The $8,000 for the roof, the $5,000 for Mom's dental implants, the $10,000 for Lila's boot camp, the countless loans that were never repaid. I had been treading water, barely keeping my head up, while they were planning to give away the very foundation I thought we all shared. I must have looked stricken, because my mother's gaze softened, but not with apology, with pity. "Harper, honey," she said, reaching a hand across the table, stopping just short of touching me. "We know you understand. You're stable. You have your career at Northlight. This is Lila's one big chance. You have had yours." My hand was resting on the stem of my wine glass. I watched, as if from a distance, as the red wine trembled, a tiny, contained earthquake. I did not yell. I did not cry. I held myself perfectly still. I was a seismograph, recording the impact. I memorized the exact shade of my father's self-satisfaction. I memorized the pleading, justifying look in my mother's eyes. And then I looked at Lila. She was not looking at me. She was not looking at our parents. She was not expressing gratitude or shock or even a shred of guilt. Her head was bent, her face illuminated by the bright white glow of her phone, her thumb already tapping away, presumably sharing her visionary news. She had her money, and she was already gone. I said nothing. I didn't congratulate Lila. I didn't argue with Russell. I simply folded my napkin, placed it on the table next to the cold, gold-rimmed plate, and stood up. "Harper, you are not leaving," my father said. It was not a question. "My roast is cold. Dad, I am going home." "We just gave your sister the chance of a lifetime," my mother said, her voice rising with that familiar, wounded tone. "And you cannot even be happy for her?" "I heard the announcement," I said, pulling my coat on. "I processed the data. Good night." Lila finally looked up from her phone, her eyes wide, not with guilt, but with offense, as if I had ruined her moment. I walked out the door, the sound of my mother calling my name cutting off as the heavy oak clicked shut behind me. The 12-minute drive back to my apartment was silent. No music, just the rhythmic thwack-thwack of the windshield wipers pushing away the Oregon drizzle. The cold knot in my stomach had hardened into something heavy and structural, like rebar. My apartment is clean. It is sparse. It is a place of order, where every object has a function and every number must add up. I live on the 7th floor, and I stood at the window for a long time, looking at the wet, glittering lights of the city spread out below. $200,000, the entire equity, given away. I sat at my desk, the one place in the world that felt entirely my own. I woke my monitor and opened the file. Gale of Family Ledger, XLSX. I created it 7 years ago, after the first time I loaned my father $5,000 for a property tax emergency that turned out to be a weekend trip to Vegas. It was my private record, my analyst's attempt to quantify the black hole. The columns were simple: date, amount, payee, stated reason, actual use. The entries scrolled: June 4th, 2017, $3,200. Russell Gale, emergency transmission repair, actual use, upgraded rims and a new sound system for his truck. January 12th, 2018, $5,000. Diane Gale, root canal, actual use, dental implants and cosmetic veneers. September 5th, 2019, $10,000. Lila Gale, coding bootcamp tuition, actual use, 6 weeks of class, 1 new laptop, 1 trip to Cabo. April 30th, 2021, $8,500. Russell Gale, new roof, actual use, new roof. I had paid the contractor directly for that one. The list went on and on. Car insurance, shortfalls, credit card, miscalculations, Down payments for cars Lila could not afford. I had categorized each one, the total, at the bottom of column B, glowed in the dark of my apartment. $94,650. $94,000 I had poured into that house, into that family, while my own down payment fund grew at a glacial pace, and now they were cashing out the very equity I had protected, the equity I had partially funded, and handing it to the person who had been the biggest drain. A memory surface, sharp and bitter, a job offer, 3 years ago, Bright Step Insight, a competitor in Phoenix. It was a senior analyst position, a 30% raise, a corner office with views of the desert mountains. I had flown down. I had nailed the interview. The offer was firm. I remembered calling my parents to share the news. The line had gone quiet. "Phoenix?" my mother had said, her voice instantly thin. "But that is so far." "Harper, what about Sunday dinners? We need you close." My father had gotten on the line. "You cannot just abandon your family. Harper, we rely on you. That is what family does." They did not say congratulations. They did not say, "We are proud of you." They said, "We need you." I looked at the spreadsheet. $94,000 of need. I had turned the job down. I had sent the polite, professional email to Brightstep, declining the offer, citing personal family obligations. I had closed the door on the sun and the mountains and the 30% raise, all to stay 12 minutes away from a family that had just handed my future to my sister on a gold-rimmed platter. The rebar in my gut twisted. This was not just theft. It was a 7-year con. My fingers moved. I opened a secure messaging app and typed a name. Marin Dorsey. Marin and I had been friends since college. She was smart. She was sharp. And she was a senior loan officer at a local credit union. She understood numbers. And she understood rules. My text. "Hey, Marin, I know it is late. I am in a bind and I need some off-the-record guidance. My parents are talking about selling their house. Can you see if there is any unusual recent activity on their property? 1214 Elm Ridge Drive." I did not expect a reply for hours. It came in 90 seconds. Marin. "Harper, I cannot pull their personal file. You know that, but property records are public." Marin. "Give me a minute." A new message came through 3 minutes later. Marin. "There is a new lien, recorded 3 weeks ago. It is a HELOC, $65,000. I stared at the screen. $65,000, a home equity line of credit. They had already borrowed $65,000 against the house 3 weeks ago. The dinner, the announcement, Russell said they were going to sell and give Lila the $200,000. He never mentioned the loan. This was a new variable, a piece of data that did not fit the narrative they had presented. My analyst brain kicked in, pushing the rage aside. Cold logic took over. When? 3 weeks ago. I opened my calendar. I scrolled back. 3 weeks ago, I found the text chain with Lila. Lila. Heading to Portland for the week. Got a huge meeting with an investor. Wish me luck. This is it. The dates matched. Exactly. The investor meeting in Portland was the same week the $65,000 HELOC was recorded. They had not just promised her the money. They had already given her a massive chunk of it. The dinner tonight was not an announcement. It was theater, designed to justify the sale that would cover the loan they had already taken, and then give her the rest. But something was wrong. My parents were not financially savvy. My father could barely balance his checkbook. Taking out a HELOC was a complex process. Who had orchestrated this? My text to Marin. Can you see who the lender was? Marin. Name of a large national bank. Marin. Harp, be careful. A HELOC that new, followed by an immediate plan to sell? That is a huge red flag. Is everything okay? Me. I am not sure. Thank you. Marin, I owe you. Marin. You do not owe me. Just be smart. Call me if you need a lawyer. I opened my secure file server. Years ago, I had helped my parents refinance their original mortgage to get a better rate. They had, of course, been overwhelmed by the paperwork, so I had handled it all, and I had kept copies. I pulled up the refinance documents from 2018. I found my father's signature, Russell Gale. I had seen it my whole life. It was distinctive, legible, with a strong right-leaning slant. The R was proud. The loop on the L in Russell was tight, and the E at the end of Gale always had a sharp, definitive underline stroke that extended backward. Just a fraction. I needed the new signature. I needed the HELOC application. I had another contact, a man named Mark at a local title company. I had worked with him on data projects for Northlight. He was fast, and he owed me a favor. I sent him an email. Mark, I have a sensitive personal situation. I need a copy of a document filed against 1214 Elm Ridge Drive in Maple Ridge. It is a HELOC, recorded approximately 3 weeks ago. I need the full PDF packet, especially the signature pages. This is a matter of potential fraud. Utmost discretion is required. He replied in under an hour, attached. Good luck, Harper. I clicked download. My heart was not hammering. It was cold. It was slow. 1, 2, 3. The PDF opened. Application for a home equity line of credit. Borrower, Russell Gale, Diane Gale. Amount, $65,000. I scrolled to the signature page, and there it was. Russell Gale. It was wrong. My eyes snapped back and forth between the two documents on my split screen. The refinance signature. The HELOC signature. The new one was clumsy. It was hesitant. The proud R was shaky. The loop on the L was wide and rounded, and the E in Gale, the sharp, backward tail was gone. It just ended. It was a forgery, a bad one. My mind flashed to something else, a piece of paper in my desk drawer. I pulled it open. Under a stack of notebooks was a birthday card from last month, a generic card with a floral print. Inside, the handwriting was bubbly, youthful, and rushed. Happy birthday. Harper, hope you have the best day. Love, Lila. I stared at the signature, Love, Lila. I looked at the L in Lila. It was a wide, rounded loop. I looked back at the HELOC signature, the L in Russell. They were identical. I looked at the O in Love on the card, a perfect round circle. I scrolled up on the HELOC application, the applicant's address, 1214 Elm Ridge Drive, Maple Ridge, Oregon. The O in Oregon was a perfect round circle. Lila. My sister had not just taken the money, she had stolen it. She had forged our father's name. A new, colder question hit me. Did my parents know? Did they let her do it? Or had she defrauded them, too? At dinner, Russell had been proud. Diane had been justificatory. There was no sign of distress, no hint that they were victims. They were accomplices. They had sat there, on chairs I had probably helped pay for, and celebrated the criminal act that funded Lila's dream. I opened the Gale family ledger, XLSX file. I renamed it, Gale Fraud Case, XLSX. I opened my family receipts folder. I created a new subfolder, HELOC Fraud Evidence. I saved the refinance PDF. I saved the new HELOC PDF. I took a high-resolution scan of Lila's birthday card and saved it. I saved screenshots of the text messages from Lila about her investor trip to Portland. I saved the text exchange with Marin. I structured the folder like a case file. I was no longer a daughter. I was a forensic analyst, and this was my case. The rage was gone now, replaced by a glacial calm. This was not a family drama anymore. This was a felony. I gave them one chance. In my head, I offered it. One single opportunity for them to come clean, to fix it themselves, before I burned the entire script to the ground. I opened my work calendar. New event. Title, Urgent Family Financial Meeting. Time, tomorrow, 7:00 p.m. Sharp. Location, my apartment. Attendees, Diane Gale, Russell Gale, Lila Gale. In the invitation body, I wrote a single, non-negotiable line. This is not a request. I hit send. They arrived at 7:03. Together, a united front of anxiety. My father, Russell, looked angry. his jaw set. My mother, Diane, looked like she was on the verge of tears, clutching her purse to her chest. Lila, trailing behind them, just looked annoyed, as if I had interrupted her very important schedule. "Harper, this is ridiculous," my father started as soon as I opened the door. "Insane," I said. "It was not a request." My apartment, my seventh-floor sanctuary of order, felt immediately contaminated by their chaotic energy. They hovered awkwardly in the living room, refusing to take off their coats, as if this were a hostile negotiation. "I will not sit. Harper, you are going to tell us what this little summons was about," Russell said, trying to loom. "Fine. Stand." I walked to my dining table. On its clean white surface, I had arranged 4 stacks of paper. I had spent the day at home, working remotely, preparing this presentation. I pointed to the first stack. "This is your credit report. Dad, the one I pulled this morning, with the credentials you gave me years ago and never bothered to change." He blinked. "You had no right. I am listed as your financial proxy on 2 accounts. I have every right. You will notice a new hard inquiry from 3 weeks ago, from this bank." I tapped the second stack of paper. "Which brings us to this, the application for a home equity line of credit, $65,000. My mother let out a small, wounded sound. "Harper, this is family business." "This is my business," I said, my voice as flat and cold as the tabletop. "Because this house, the one you leveraged, is the same one I have poured over $94,000 into over the last 7 years. I am a de facto investor, and you have just leveraged my investment." I let that hang in the air. Lila, for the first time, looked uncertain. She shifted her weight. "And now," I continued, moving to the third stack, "we come to the signatures." I had printed them side by side, blown up. On the left, Dad's signature from the 2018 mortgage refinance, the one I handled. Note the strong R, the tight loop on the L, the distinctive sharp tail on the E in Gale, and on the right, the signature from the HELOC application, the one from 3 weeks ago. I looked directly at Lila. The L is wide, the R is shaky, and the tail on the E is gone, but it does look an awful lot like the L in your name, Lila, the one on the birthday card you gave me last month. Total, ringing silence. Lila's face went white. She looked, instinctively, not at me, but at our parents. "Harper, this is a misunderstanding," my mother tried, her voice trembling. "Your father and I, we agreed. It is all just an internal family arrangement." "This is what I do for a living, Mom," I said. "I analyze data. I find discrepancies. So let us stick to the data." I moved my finger to the last stack of paper. "This is the bank statement for the brand new HELOC account. Notice the date, 2 days after the application was approved, and notice the line item, a single withdrawal, for the entire credit limit, $65,000, transferred to a new business checking account." I looked at Lila again. "Tell me about bridge funding, Lila." She flinched, as if I had slapped her. She physically recoiled, her eyes darting to the floor. It is just bridge funding," she stammered, the words barely audible. "To get us to the next round, the investor needed to see commitment." "The investor," I repeated, "and this $65,000, it was your commitment?" "Harper, enough," Russell barked. He took a step toward me, his face red. "This is our equity, our money. We can do what we want with it." "You can, but you cannot do it by forging a signature," I said. "It was not forged," Diane cried out, too quickly. "Your father, he hurt his hand that week. Lila helped him. He told her to sign for him, right, Russell?" Russell said nothing. He was staring at me, his eyes dark. He knew what I had. "He hurt his hand," I repeated. "So Lila signed his name on a legal binding bank document, without a power of attorney, without a notary present. That is the story you are going with." "This is a family matter." "Harper," Russell growled. He took a step, not toward me, but toward the door, blocking my only exit. It was an act of physical intimidation, a classic move. You are not to say a word. You will not call the bank. You will not tell anyone. This stays in this room. Do you understand me? That was the moment, the threat, the cage. My hand slipped into the pocket of my jeans. My thumb found the icon on my phone screen. A double tap. The screen remained dark, but a faint vibration against my leg confirmed it. The microphone was active. "So I am forbidden from calling the bank," I said, my voice level. I needed him to repeat it. "You are absolutely forbidden," he spat. "You will destroy this family. You will ruin your sister's chance. This is your one warning." "So, to be clear," I said, walking slowly back to the table, my hand still in my pocket, my phone aimed at him. "You are ordering me to conceal a crime." "This is not a crime," Diane shrieked. "This is a misunderstanding." "It is not a misunderstanding," I said. "Let us use the correct terms. This," I tapped the signature comparison, "is signature forgery. That is a felony. This," I tapped the bank application, "is bank fraud. Lying on a loan application. That is a federal offense. The transfer of the money to Lila's account could easily be classified as wire fraud. You," I looked at my parents, "are accessories after the fact, at best, at worst. You are co-conspirators, and you," I looked at Russell, "are now adding witness tampering and coercion to the list." Lila finally broke. But it was not the break I expected. It was not a confession. It was not remorse. It was pure, unfiltered rage, emerging through a torrent of tears. "You are just jealous," she screamed, her face mottled and red. "You are a miserable, jealous old maid. You have your stupid, perfect job, and your stupid, perfect, empty apartment, and you cannot stand that I am the one with the vision. You cannot stand that I am the one who is getting the chance." I just watched her, the analyst, observing the data stream. "Mom and Dad wanted this for me," she sobbed. "Because I am building something. All you do is sit in a cube and judge everyone. You have always been jealous of me. Ever since high school. You are just trying to ruin me." I let her finish. The echoes of her screams bounced off my clean, orderly walls. The sound of her heavy, gasping sobs filled the silence. I waited. "Are you done?" I asked, my voice quiet. She sniffled, wiping her nose on the sleeve of her expensive-looking jacket, probably bought with the $65,000. "You cried," I said. "You yelled, you called me jealous, but I noticed something. In all of that, you never once said, 'I did not do it.' You never denied the specifics." Lila's face crumpled. She had no answer. She looked at Diane. My mother just shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "So this is what happens now," I said. I walked to the door. Russell, to his credit, looked momentarily confused, his act of intimidation broken. I pulled the door open. The hallway light spilled in. "Get out." "Harper, you cannot do this," my mother pleaded. "We are your family." "You have until 10 tomorrow," I said, holding the door open, the cold hallway air cutting into the room. "That is 14 hours. By 10 I require 2 things. 1. Confirmation that the $65,000 has been returned, in full, to the bank, and the HELOC account is closed. 2. A full written confession from all 3 of you, detailing exactly what happened, who signed it, and who knew about it. If I do not have both of those things in my email inbox by 10:01, "You will not," Russell said, his voice low. "I will," I said, meeting his gaze. "Tomorrow. I report this. I will file a police report for identity theft and forgery. I will submit my entire case file, this file, right here, to the bank's fraud department, and I will send my audio recording of this conversation, including your threats, to the district attorney. This is not a negotiation. This is the one and only chance you get to mitigate your own criminal exposure. Now, get out of my apartment." They stared. For a second, I think they thought I was bluffing. Then they saw my face. My mother was the first to move, stumbling out, her sobs now audible in the hallway. Lila, her face a mask of hatred, followed. Russell was the last. He stopped in the doorway. "You will regret this, Harper," he said. "I am already in regret," I said. "I regret the last 7 years." I closed the door in his face. I double-locked it. I leaned against it for 1, 2, 3 seconds. Then I went to my computer. It did not take long. The phone, which had been silent on my desk, lit up at 8:15 p.m. A text from my Aunt Clara. "Harper, your mother is hysterical. Whatever you did, you need to apologize right now. Family is everything." Another, my cousin Mark. "Lila just called me, said you threatened her. What is wrong with you? She is trying to build a business. You are just bitter." Message after message. They came in a flood, a coordinated attack. Lila was not confessing. She was campaigning. She was spinning the story. Harper is jealous. Harper is cruel. Harper is betraying the family. I sat at my desk, the glow of the monitor lighting my face. I did not reply. I did not block them. I meticulously screenshotted every single message. I saved each image. 8:15 p.m. Clara Gale, PNG. 8:17 p.m. Mark Gale, PNG. 8:22 p.m. Diane Gale voicemail, transcript, PNG. I saved them all to a new folder in the Gale fraud case directory. I titled it Witness Tampering and Harassment. I organized them by timestamp. When the phone finally went quiet around midnight, I was left in the silence. The adrenaline was gone, leaving only that cold, structural rebar. I opened a new document. I typed my name at the top. Statement of Facts, Harper Lane. I began to write. On the evening of October 12, 2024, at approximately 7 p.m., I hosted a meeting at my residence. I wrote with the precision of a data analyst. No emotion, no, I felt, just the facts. The dinner, the announcement, the spreadsheet, the HELOC documents, the signature comparison, the confrontation, the exact words of the threat, the exact words of my ultimatum. I was not writing a diary, I was writing an affidavit, and I would not sleep until it was done. The first thing I did when I woke was check the clock. It was 7:13 a.m. I had not slept. I had spent the night polishing the affidavit, the words burning themselves onto the back of my eyelids. My 10 a.m. deadline for their confession was still almost 3 hours away, but I knew it was a formality. They had already given me their answer. It was waiting for me on my phone. The notifications had been piling up since sunrise. My phone was a chorus of pings and vibrations. I opened it. Lila had not waited. At 6:02 a.m., she had launched her offensive. It was a long, rambling, public post on social media. It was a masterpiece of curated victimhood. There was a photo of her, looking young and hopeful, sitting at a coffee shop with her laptop. The caption was a novel. "I think it is time I finally told my truth." It began. "I have been working so hard on my dream, a wellness app to help people. But my biggest obstacle has not been funding. It has been my own family, my own sister. She did not use my name. She did not have to. I was just given the chance of a lifetime," she wrote. "A chance my parents wanted for me, and my sister, who has always been jealous, has decided to sabotage it. She is threatening me, harassing our parents, and trying to destroy everything I have built, all because she cannot stand to see me succeed. It is a classic case of toxic family dynamics, and I am being bullied. Please send light and good energy. It is so hard to be the one trying to break generational curses." She had tagged our entire extended family, Aunt Clara, Cousin Mark, second cousins I had not seen in a decade. The comments, even by 7:14 a.m., were a predictable, sycophantic flood. Aunt Clara, "Lila, honey, you are a visionary. Do not let anyone dim your light. We are so proud of you." Cousin Mark, "This is sick. I never liked her. She always thought she was better than us. Stay strong. A neighbor. Mary Beth. Lila, I am so sorry you are going through this. Your parents are wonderful people. Let me know if you need anything. They were not just messages. They were text messages from my parents' friends, the neighbors I had known my whole life. Harper, your mother is a saint. I hope you can find it in your heart to be happy for your sister. Harper, this is not like you. Please call your parents. They are devastated. It was a campaign, a coordinated, brilliant, and utterly dishonest campaign to paint me as the villain. I did not feel anger. I felt a cold, clear-eyed confirmation. This was their choice. They were not going to confess. They were going to war. I sat at my desk and began my work. Lila FB, post 0744 on AM, PNG. Clara/Gale, comment G0715, AM. PNG, Mary Beth, text 0716, AM, PNG. I saved every screenshot. I logged every message. I updated my timeline. At 8:30 a.m., the next stage missile arrived. An email from my father. He had blind copied the entire family, all the aunts, uncles, and cousins. The subject line was, "Family Update, a small clarification." It was written in his best community leader voice, the one he used when he was on the board of the local Rotary Club. "To our beloved family," it read, "there has been a small internal mix-up regarding the funding for Lila's wonderful new company. As you know, Diane and I are bursting with pride and are backing her 100%. A minor accounting error led to a misunderstanding with Harper, who, as you know, can be a bit meticulous. She is understandably stressed from her job and has unfortunately become overwrought. We are handling this small financial X&O privately, and we ask that you please give us space. We are fine, the house is fine, and Lila's company is launching as planned. All is well." It was a corporate-sounding dismissal, an accounting error. Meticulous, overwrought, he was painting me as unstable, as a hysterical woman who did not understand the big boy world of funding and X&Os. I saved it. Russell Gale BCC email 0830 AM, PNG. I looked at the clock. 9:45 a.m. My inbox was full of their lies, but it was empty of a confession. It was empty of a wire transfer receipt. They were not just missing the deadline. They were burning the bridges, salting the earth, and rewriting history. I was working on my own email when my phone buzzed with a text. It was not a relative. It was Marin. "Marin, Harper, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about your case. I went back and looked at the HELOC filing again this morning. The notary. Notary's name. I recognize the name. He is not a bank notary. He is a mobile notary. And he's got a reputation." My fingers went cold. What kind of reputation? Marin. "A bad one. I did a quick search on the state certification board. A formal complaint was just filed against him. Last week. I'm sending you the link." The link appeared. I clicked it. It took me to the Oregon Secretary of State's Notary Public Database. There it was. Notary's name. And next to it, a link. View Public Complaints. I downloaded the PDF. The complaint was from an elderly man, claiming this exact notary had notarized my wife's signature on a power of attorney, but my wife has not been able to sign her name in 3 years. He never came to the house. He never saw her. My blood went cold. This was not just a forgery by Lila. This was a conspiracy with a compromised official. Lila had not just faked a signature. She had found a notary who was willing to look the other way, to notarize a forged document without the signer present. This changed everything. I created a new folder in my case file. Notary Angle. I saved the public complaint. I saved the notary's public registration details. This was big. This was bigger than me. I messaged my manager at Northlight, David Henderson. I kept it simple. "David, a serious, urgent family legal matter has come up. It involves potential fraud and requires my immediate, full attention today. I may need to operate on flexible hours for the next few days to deal with attorneys and law enforcement. His reply came back in 2 minutes. Harper, take whatever time you need. Your work is always exemplary. Your team can cover. Just let me know if Northlight can do anything to support you. You are a valued member of this team. I almost cried. It was the first simple, supportive, human decency I had been shown in 48 hours. A new ally. I took a deep breath. The 10 a.m. deadline passed. My inbox remained empty. It was time. I was an analyst, but I was not a lawyer. I Googled financial fraud attorneys, Maple Ridge. The first result was a firm, Ramos and Associates. I clicked the bio for the senior partner, Elliot Ramos. Specializing in complex financial crimes, intrafamily asset disputes, and forged document litigation. I called the number. I paid the $250 consultation fee over the phone. I was on a video call with him by 11:30 a.m. Elliot Ramos was all sharp angles, sharp suit, sharp haircut, sharp, intelligent eyes. He did not bother with pleasantries. The intake form said, "Urgent criminal fraud. You have 1 hour. Show me." I shared my screen. I did not tell a story. I did not get emotional. I opened the Gale Fraud Case Directory. Here is the Gale Family Ledger spreadsheet, detailing $94,000 in transfers over 7 years. Here is the refinance signature from 2018. Here is the HELOC signature from 3 weeks ago. Here is the side-by-side comparison with Lila's handwriting from a birthday card. Here is the notary angle folder with the public complaint against the notary. Here is the text chain from Lila, establishing her location in Portland, away from my father. Here is the audio file from last night, Russell Gale Coercion 2000.mp3, in which my father forbids me from contacting the bank. And here, I opened the harassment folder. Is the social media and email campaign that began at 6:02 this morning? I stopped. Elliot Ramos was perfectly still. He stared at his screen, not at me. He was quiet for a full 30 seconds. Then he finally looked up. "Ms. Lane, Harper, I have been doing this for 20 years. This file. This is what clients pay me $30,000 and wait 4 months to build. It is the single most complete, pristine, and damning case file I have ever seen from a civilian. You have, by yourself, done the work of a full forensic accounting team." "So what do I do with it?" I asked. "What do we do?" he corrected. "First, I am drafting a temporary restraining order against all 3 of them. The harassment campaign gives us more than enough cause. It proves a pattern of coercion and will shut them up immediately." "Not yet," I said. "I want to do one more thing first." He nodded, a small, approving smile. "The bank? Good. You report to them. You are the victim of a conspiracy to devalue an asset you have equity in, and your father is the victim of identity theft. You are also a witness." He gave me his direct email. "Here is what you do. You will draft a formal report. You will attach the core evidence. You will copy me. I will be your counsel from this moment forward. And Harper? Do not worry about my retainer. I will be taking this case on contingency. The bank will pay our fees when we sue them for negligent notarization." The call ended. I had a lawyer. I had a plan. I opened a new, clean email. I addressed it to the Central Fraud Investigations Unit of the National Bank. I copied Elliot Ramos. I attached a single, consolidated PDF. Harper Lane Fraud Report 1013, 2024.pdf. Subject: Urgent. Formal report of suspected bank fraud. Forgery and identity theft. HELOC account number. To the Fraud Investigations Department. My name is Harper Lane. I am writing to formally report a crime against your institution regarding the above-referenced home equity line of credit taken out against the property at 1214 Elm Ridge Drive, Maple Ridge, Oregon. I am the daughter of the primary mortgage holders, Russell and Diane Gale. I am also a de facto investor in the property. I have discovered a multi-part fraud. 1. The signature of my father, Russell Gale, on the application, has been forged. 2. The notary public. Notary's name, who attested to the signature, is currently under investigation for fraudulent practices and did not, to my knowledge, witness the signature. 3. The funds, $65,000, were withdrawn in a lump sum and transferred by the forgery perpetrator, Lila Gale, to her own business account. I have evidence of the forgery, evidence of the compromised notary, a timeline of events, and a recording of family members confessing to the cover-up and threatening me to remain silent. This was not a family matter. This was a criminal conspiracy that used your bank to steal $65,000. My counsel, Elliot Ramos, is copied on this communication. We await your immediate and urgent investigation into this matter. I am available to provide my full, unredacted file to your lead investigator. Sincerely, Harper Lane. My hand was steady on the mouse. I looked at the name Lila Gale. I looked at Russell Gale. I looked at Diane Gale. I clicked send. The email vanished. In the quiet of my 7th-floor apartment, the small whoosh of the sent email confirmation was the loudest sound I had ever heard. It was the sound of a steel bolt locking into place, the sound of a door closing. Forever. My phone rang at 12:17 a.m. I was not asleep. I was sitting at my desk, the glow of my monitor painting the room blue. The caller ID was Russell Gale. I let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th, I answered. I did not speak. Harper? His voice was thick, wet, and slurred. He was drunk. Harper, you answer me. You think you are funny? I remained silent. On my screen, I opened a new text document, log 10/14/2024, 12:17 a.m. Call in, Russell Gale. I typed, subject appears intoxicated. You think you are so smart, he spat, the words fumbling over each other. You think you can just burn your family down? You call that bank? You call them right now. You tell them you made a mistake. It was a misunderstanding. Demand. Retract bank complaint. I typed. Stated reason. Misunderstanding. You withdraw that complaint. Harper, he slurred, his voice rising. You withdraw it, or by God, you are out. You are not my daughter. You are nothing. You hear me? Threat. Disownment if complaint is not withdrawn. I have logged your call. Russell, I said, my voice flat, cold, and perfectly sober. I hung up. I saved the log file. The phone immediately began to ring again. I silenced the ringer. It was a chess game, and that was his sloppy, emotional opening, a pawn move. At 2:34 a.m., a new notification, voicemail, this time, Diane Gale. I did not answer. I let the server pick it up. I listened to the WAV file a minute later. Harper, honey, please pick up. It was her signature move, the trembling, tearful weapon. I do not know what is happening. Your father he is beside himself. My blood pressure. Oh, Harper, it is so high. I had to take an extra pill. I feel dizzy. I really feel faint. What you are doing, you are killing your mother. Is that what you want? Is this worth killing me? Just call Lila. Fix this. Please, honey. Fix this for me. I dragged the audio file from my email into the coercion folder. I renamed it dgale/VM0234. Health threat. Wave. I did not call back. I went to the kitchen and made a pot of black coffee. The sun rose. I showered, dressed, and was back at my desk by 7 a.m. At 8:01 a.m., there was a pounding on my apartment door. Not a knock, a frantic, rattling assault. I looked through the peephole. Lila. Her hair was a mess, her eyes red and puffy. She was wearing the same clothes from the night before. The visionary was disheveled. I undid the deadbolt. I kept the chain on. I opened the door 3 inches. The cold hallway air hit my face. What? I said. You have to stop this, she hissed, trying to push the door open. The chain caught, rattling violently. Harper, stop it. The bank. They froze my account. They froze the business account. My investor. My real investor. He is going to pull out. You are ruining everything. That is a consequence, I said. This is not a game, she whisper-shrieked, her eyes wild. This is my life. You sent them that file. You recorded Dad? What is wrong with you? You forged his name on a $65,000 loan. Lila, what is wrong with you? Her face changed. The rage collapsed, instantly replaced by a desperate, manipulative plea. We can fix this, she said, trying to sound reasonable, trying to push her hand through the gap. Look, I will pay you back, okay? I will pay you. We can just tell the bank it was a mistake, a family solution. We do not need lawyers. We just need to talk. Please, Harper, just let me in. We can fix this. Just the family. A family solution, I repeated. I looked at her, the 25-year-old child who had set a fire and was now begging me to eat the smoke. A family solution is what got us here. It is what got $94,000 drained from my savings. It is what got $65,000 stolen from a bank. I am no longer interested in family solutions. I am interested in legal ones. You are destroying us. You are destroying this family. No, I said. You did. I am just running the audit. I closed the door. I heard her shriek of frustration. I slid the deadbolt home. The sound was a definitive, metallic chunk. That was their three-pronged attack. The intimidation, the guilt, the desperate plea. All three had failed. Now it was my turn. My first call was not to Elliot. It was to my financial advisor, Ken. Hi, Ken, it is Harper Lane. I need an emergency session. Right now. I need to detangle my finances from my family's, completely. We spent the next 2 hours on a video call. I had, foolishly, kept my mother listed as a just-in-case beneficiary on an old retirement account. My father was still a co-signer on my very first credit card, a dormant account I had not used in a decade. There was a small, shared utility account for a storage unit we had all once used. As I walked him through the why, Ken's mild-mannered face grew pale. My God. Harper, he said, staring at the list of shared access points. The level of enmeshment. It is staggering. You were their emergency fund, their co-signer, and their primary beneficiary target, all at once. This is not a financial plan. It is a parasitic relationship. By noon, every link was cut, every password changed, every beneficiary updated to estate until I could decide. My name was removed from the utility bill. The old credit card was canceled. I was a financial island. My next move. An email from Elliot arrived. Notary complaint form. As discussed. It was the official state board PDF. I filled it out with the precision of a data analyst. Name of notary. Date of notarization. Reason for complaint. Signer, Russell Gale, was not present. For evidence, I did not write a paragraph. I attached 3 files. Russell Gale's signature known, PDF. Russell Gale's signature forged, PDF. And Lila Gale handwriting sample, PDF. I hit send. Another piece was on the board. My next call. The Maple Ridge Police non-emergency line. Yes, I need to schedule a time to come in and file a formal report for identity theft and forgery. I have a complete evidence packet, including signature analysis and audio files. Who is the correct detective to speak with in the Financial Crimes Division? They gave me a name. An appointment was set for the following afternoon. Check. Next, I went back to my Gale fraud case spreadsheet. I opened a new tab. 7-year timeline. I reformatted the original ledger. It was no longer just a list. It was a narrative. Date, amount, who requested, stated reason, actual use, impact on H, Lane, June 2017, $3,200. Russell Gale, emergency transmission, truck upgrades. H, Lane delayed student loan overpayment. Sep 2019. $10,000. Lila Diane Gale. Coding boot camp. 6 weeks, then quit. H. Lane used 50% of annual bonus. May 2021. Declined offer. Bright Step Insight. Family needs me close. N.A. Lost 30K-ish year raise. I worked for hours. It was a detailed 7-year history of my own exploitation. The entry about Bright Step Insight stuck in my mind. The what if, the 30% raise, the sun in Phoenix. I opened my email. I found the name of the HR manager I had spoken to 3 years ago. Hi, Sarah. You may not remember me, but I was the analyst from Northlight who received an offer for the Phoenix senior position in 2021. I had to decline for family reasons, as it happens. Those reasons are now resolved. I am writing to ask if you would still be interested in a conversation. She replied in 20 minutes. Harper, of course I remember you. We were so disappointed. The position is open. Are you serious? I looked at her reply. Phoenix, a new start. It was tempting, but my eyes drifted to my own company's internal site. Northlight had strategic partnerships. Our sister company, our biggest data partner, was Blue Ridge Data. Their headquarters was in Denver. Phoenix was an escape. Denver was an advancement. It was a step up, not just a step away. It was a new market, a bigger challenge. It was a $30,000 raise, not just 30%. I replied to Sarah. Sarah, I am deeply flattered, but I need to be honest. I'm going to pursue a targeted role at Blue Ridge Data in Denver first. It is a perfect fit, but thank you for your quick reply. It means a lot. I did not need to run. I needed to build a future that was so strong. My past could not touch it. Denver, that was the new target. My final moves were defensive. Lila's social media campaign was still raging. I was now being tagged by strangers. The visionary was crowdsourcing her harassment. I went to my LinkedIn profile. I tightened my privacy settings until it was a fortress. No comments without approval, no new connections. I set a Google alert for my own name. I set a calendar reminder for Monday, 9 a.m. Review social media, report all harassment, block all flying monkeys. I was done. I looked at the files, the spreadsheets, the audio logs. My entire life had been reduced to a case file. I was tired of it. I shut down my computer. I walked to the corner stationery shop. I bought a new, simple, hardcover notebook, black, and a good pen. I returned to my apartment. I sat at my clean desk. I opened to the first page. The clean, lined paper smelled like possibility. I wrote one sentence. I will not sacrifice myself to be the background in someone else's story. I closed the book. As I did, my phone pinged. A calendar notification, not one I set. It was from the shared family calendar I had forgotten to delete. This Sunday, 1 p.m. Gale family. Annual neighborhood BBQ. I stared at it. They had not canceled it. Of course they had not. They were still performing, still playing the part. Russell, the community leader. Diane, the perfect hostess. Lila, the rising star. They thought they controlled the narrative. They thought I would be too ashamed, too broken, to show my face. I smiled, a cold, analytical smile. They had their stage, but I had the evidence, I had the truth, and I had an appointment with the Financial Crimes Division. This was not a family party. This was a deposition, and I was about to be the star witness. The smoke from the grill hit me a block away. It was a thick, greasy, familiar smell. Hickory, my father's signature. He always used too much wood chip, convinced that more smoke equaled more flavor. Today, it just smelled like a smokescreen. The annual Gale Family Neighborhood BBQ. It was a Maple Ridge institution for 20 years. It was the unofficial start of the fall season, a command performance of suburban hospitality. This year, it was a war zone, and they were inviting the whole neighborhood to watch them celebrate their victory. I parked 3 streets over and walked. I did not want to be trapped. I had filed the police report 2 days prior. The detective, a tired-looking woman named Alvarez, had looked at my Gale fraud case file, raised an eyebrow, and said, "I wish all my victims were this organized." My meeting with the bank's internal investigator was set for Monday. My email to Blue Ridge Data in Denver was sent. Today was about changing the narrative. They had used a public smear campaign, so I was going to use a public forum for the truth. I wore black, simple black trousers, a black merino wool sweater, no jewelry. My hair was pulled back in a tight knot. I was not here as a guest. I was here as an auditor. I walked through the open side gate. The backyard was full. 50, maybe 60 people. All the neighbors, all the extended family. Aunt Clara, who had told me to dim my light, was holding a plate of potato salad. Cousin Mark, who had called me bitter, was laughing by the beer cooler. And there, in the center, was the stage. My mother, Diane, was a blur of motion, fluttering between tables with a pitcher of iced tea. Her face fixed in a strained, brilliant smile, a hostess performing her heart out. My father, Russell, was at the grill, spatula in hand, pontificating to a circle of men. He was talking about tradition and family and legacy. He was wearing his King of the Grill apron. The irony was suffocating. And Lila was holding court by the patio steps, a glass of white wine in her hand. She was animated, glowing. I could hear her from the gate. And the venture capital firm in Portland is just so excited. We are projecting a 30% market capture in the first 2 years. It is all just happening so fast. I stood by the gate. I did not move. I just watched. I let them see me, one by one. The conversations closest to me faltered. A neighbor saw me. Her smile froze, and she turned to whisper to her husband. The ripple spread. Aunt Clara's hand stopped mid-scoop. Lila's voice, suddenly exposed in a pocket of silence, trailed off. She turned, and her eyes found mine. The glow was gone, replaced by a flash of pure reptilian hatred. Then my mother saw me. Her face went pale under her hostess flush. She started toward me, her hands twisting the dish towel she was carrying. "Harper," she said, her voice a low, warning hiss. "What are you doing here?" "It is a family barbecue, Mom," I said, my voice perfectly level, carrying in the sudden quiet. "Am I not family?" Before she could answer, I walked past her, toward the center of the yard. I did not stop. I made my way to the drink table, picked up a plastic cup, and filled it with water. I stood there, a silent, black-clad statue in their sea of pastel-colored party clothes. I could feel every eye on me. I let them stare. I saw him, over by the fence, nursing a beer. Was George Keller. George had lived 2 doors down for my entire life. He was a quiet, steady man who worked in finance. Specifically, he was the branch manager for the local office of the national bank they had defrauded. He had been for 20 years. He was not just an employee, he was a pillar of the community. His eyes met mine. He did not smile. He just watched, his face unreadable. He was my silent ally, whether he knew it yet or not. The party's audio slowly faded back in. The performance resumed, but it was strained. The laughter was a little too loud. My father's pronouncements on grilling were a bit too forceful. Lila had turned her back to me and was talking with frantic, aggressive energy. I did not move for 10 minutes. I just stood. I sipped my water, and I waited. I was a variable they had not accounted for, a piece of data that was skewing their entire projection. Finally, he came to me. Russell. He wiped his hands on his apron, his face a mask of geniality, but his eyes were chips of ice. He sidled up to me at the drink table, pretending to look for napkins. "You need to leave," he said, his voice a low growl under the sound of the music. "I am just enjoying the party. Dad," I said, "you are making a scene. You are embarrassing your mother." "I have not said a word." He leaned in, his smile frozen for the benefit of the crowd. His voice dropped. "I warned you. You are destroying this family. You are done. You walk out of here. Right now. And you stop this insanity, or you will never speak to any of us again." He was trying to push me, to trigger an emotional reaction, to make me the one who started yelling. "Stop what?" "Exactly?" I asked. "You know what?" he hissed. "You stop this, or you are out. You are making a terrible mistake. Do not make a fool of yourself. Do not make a fool of this family." I turned, my body now angled toward him, toward the center of the yard. I did not lean in. I did not whisper. I spoke in a clear, conversational tone, the kind that cuts through background noise. "Are you asking me to stop talking about the $65,000 you and Mom are trying to cover up?" The silence was instantaneous. It was an implosion. Every conversation, every laugh, every clinking glass stopped. The only sound was the aggressive sizzle of burgers on the grill. Suddenly, shockingly loud. Russell's face went from red to white. "What?" he stammered. I continued, my voice calm, projecting. "Or are you asking me to stop talking about the signature forgery? The one Lila did on the HELOC application, using your name?" A collective gasp went up from the patio. Lila, her face a mask of horror, shrieked, "She is lying! She is a liar!" My mother rushed forward, her hands outstretched. No. It is a misunderstanding. Harper, please." "I would also like to know," a new voice, a deep one, George Keller. He had left his post at the fence and was walking toward us, his face no longer unreadable. It was hard. He was not a neighbor anymore. He was a bank manager. He stopped 3 feet from my father. He looked at Russell, but he was addressing me. "Harper, what did you just say?" "George, this is not your business," Russell said, trying to regain control. "Russell," George said, his voice sharp. "When a neighbor starts yelling forgery in a backyard full of my customers, it becomes my business. $65,000? From my bank?" He looked back at me. "Say it again." I stood tall. I was not a daughter. I was a witness. "On October 3rd, I said, my voice carrying to every corner of the yard, a home equity line of credit was opened against this property. The signature of Russell Gale, the primary borrower, was forged." "That is a lie," Lila screamed. "The entire $65,000 limit was withdrawn 2 days later, on October 5th. I continued, ignoring her. "It was transferred to an LLC for a wellness app." All eyes turned to Lila. "And the notary public who certified the forged signature," I said, "is currently under formal complaint with the state for fraudulent practices, including notarizing documents without the signer present." The yard was a tableau of shock. Aunt Clara's mouth was wide open. Cousin Mark looked pale. "Russell?" George Keller said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Did you sign that application?" My father looked trapped. He looked at my mother. He looked at Lila. He looked at the 50 faces staring at him, waiting. It is a family misunderstanding. George," he stammered, a paperwork mix-up." My mother rushed to his side. "George, please, this is a private matter. Let us all go inside and talk about this." "It stopped being a private matter when you filed a fraudulent document with my bank," George said, his eyes hard. "And it stopped being a private matter when you," he looked at Russell, "let your daughter publicly spin a story about your other daughter being jealous to cover it up." The script was broken. The narrative was mine. I had done what I came to do. I had presented the data. I placed my untouched cup of water on the table. I looked at my father, my mother, and my sister, all 3 of them standing there, exposed, their performances in tatters. "I have already filed a police report for forgery and identity theft," I said, my voice clear and final. "I have submitted my evidence to the bank's chief fraud investigator. My next stop is the district attorney. The part where we talk about misunderstandings is over." I turned to the crowd. "Thank you for the barbecue. Dad, the food smells." As expected, I turned and walked toward the gate. I did not run. I walked, my footsteps even on the grass. Every eye in the yard followed me. I could feel their stares on my back, a physical weight. I did not look back. I walked through the gate, and as it clicked shut behind me, I left them in the smoking ruins of their own stage. The rest of it, I thought, was just procedure. The rest of it was just a matter of legal process. The fallout from the barbecue was not loud. It was quiet, procedural, and far more terrifying. The social explosion had settled, and the legal machinery was now grinding forward. The first piece landed in their mailbox 2 days later. It was a formal, certified letter from the bank's corporate fraud division. I knew because my mother, in a panic, took a picture of the envelope and texted it to me, followed by a string of question marks and a pleading emoji. I did not respond. George Keller, having lit the fuse in the backyard, had respectfully recused himself. He told his superiors at the bank that he was a personal acquaintance of both parties and would no longer be involved socially. He had done his job as a bank manager. He would not be drawn into the role of neighborhood mediator. The shield he had provided them for 20 years was gone. The next move came from them. They had lawyered up. A man I did not know, some local attorney named Simmons, sent an email to my personal account. He must have gotten it from my parents. Subject: Gale Family Matter. Request for private mediation. Ms. Lane, it read, I have been retained by your parents, Russell and Diane Gale, to facilitate a solution to the recent unfortunate misunderstanding. They are deeply distressed by this conflict and are eager to find an internal arrangement that works for everyone. To that end, we would like to schedule an intervention meeting at a neutral location, perhaps your Aunt Elaine's home, to resolve this matter privately, as a family. Please provide my office with your availability. An intervention. They were trying to reframe a criminal investigation as a family squabble, a therapeutic issue. They wanted to get me in a room with their lawyer, surrounded by the same relatives who had attacked me, and pressure me into dropping the complaint. I forwarded the email to Elliot. His reply was immediate. No, absolutely not. From this point forward, all communication must be in writing. You will not attend any meetings without me, and we will not be attending any interventions at Aunt Elaine's. Do not reply to him. I will handle Mr. Simmons. An hour later, a new email hit my inbox. This one was from records@countynotary.org. Subject: complaint filed. Notary's name. Dear Ms. Lane, we have received your formal complaint regarding the notarization of a home equity line of credit. Our review board is taking this allegation very seriously. To proceed, we require a non-redacted copy of the document in question, as well as the signature comparison files you mentioned in your complaint. Please attach and return via this secure email. The walls were closing in, and not just on my family. I meticulously compiled the requested files, the HELOC packet, the refinance signature, Lila's birthday card, and sent them. Another official record, another log in the fire. The family's strategy, now that their lawyer had been blocked by Elliot, became chaotic. They were cornered, and they were lashing out. On Thursday, an email arrived from an unfamiliar address. The sender was Ty M., Lila's boyfriend. The subject was Lila's repayment commitment. I opened it. It was a one-page PDF, amateurishly designed, with a large clip art logo of a lotus flower at the top. The text was full of buzzwords. Commitment of repayment, draft. I, Lila Gale, visionary and founder, do hereby commit to the full repayment of the $65,000 bridge funding loan upon the successful closing of our Series A venture capital round, projected Q2. This family loan was an essential part of our pre-seed runway, and its return will be prioritized. This document serves as a good faith promise to resolve this internal financial matter. It was not even signed. It was a pathetic, meaningless piece of digital trash. A good faith promise. Bridge funding. Runway. She was still hiding behind the jargon of her stolen dream. They thought this flyer, would be enough to make me call off the police and the bank. I looked at Elliot's advice. All communication in writing. I hit reply. I copied Elliot. I copied Mr. Simmons, their new lawyer. I wrote a single sentence. I am not participating in a criminal cover-up. I hit send. The response from my father was almost instantaneous. It was not an email. It was a text message, a raw stream of digital rage. Russell Gale, you little bitch. You got our lawyer involved? You are trying to humiliate us? After everything we gave you, you are no daughter of mine. You are dead to us. Dead. You pull this plug right now. You stop this. Or I swear to God, you will never see a penny. You will never have a family. You are nothing. I read it. I felt nothing. It was just more data. I screenshotted the text. I saved the file. R. Gale Coercion, Text 10-19, 2024. PNG. I forwarded it to Elliot. This was not a father. It was a co-conspirator. The world they were trying to burn down was already a place I was planning to leave. In the midst of this, my other life, my real life, was moving forward. An email had landed in my inbox that morning. A bright light in the middle of the darkness. Subject: Interview request. Senior Data Analyst, Strategy, Blue Ridge Data. Dear Harper Lane, thank you for your inquiry regarding opportunities at Blue Ridge Data. Your reputation at Northlight Analytics is well known to us, and your manager, David Henderson, gave you a glowing recommendation. We have an immediate opening on our strategic projections team in our Denver headquarters. The role is a perfect match for your skill set and comes with a significant advancement in title and compensation, including a $30,000 salary increase over your current estimated baseline. We would like to schedule a first-round video interview as soon as possible. I read it 3 times. Denver, a partner company, a $30,000 raise. They were not just interviewing me, they were recruiting me. The world I had built for myself, the skills I had honed while they were siphoning my savings, had value, real, quantifiable value. I was not the jealous, bitter, meticulous woman they described. I was a high-value asset, and I was about to be gone. I confirmed the interview for the next day. As I was closing my laptop, my personal phone buzzed. A text from Marin. Marin, you are not going to believe this. Check the state board, now. I clicked her link, the page for notary's name. The status, which had previously read active, now had a new, bright red flag next to it. Status: registration temporarily suspended. Pending investigation. My complaint, combined with the others, had been enough. The state had acted. The man who had helped Lila steal $65,000 was, for now, out of business. The dominoes were falling, and not just in the legal world. The social tide in Maple Ridge, which had been so quick to condemn me, was turning. The story from the barbecue had spread like wildfire, and it was a very different story from the one Lila had posted. The first text was from Mary Beth, the neighbor who had told me to be happy for Lila. Mary Beth, Harper, dear, I am horrified. I heard what was said at the barbecue. George Keller confirmed the bank is involved. I am so sorry I rushed to judgment. What your family? Well, I am just sorry. We are all thinking of you. Another, from a cousin. Cousin Mark. Hey Har, I feel like a real ass. I listened to Lila. I should have known better. What they did. It is not right. I am on your side. 100%. I did not reply to any of them. I did not need to. My public silence, in the face of their loud, frantic lies, had become my greatest weapon. They had screamed jealousy from every rooftop, and I had responded with bank statements, signature analysis, and police reports. The trap was set, the legal pressure was mounting, the social pressure was reversing, the family lawyer was stonewalled, the notary was suspended, the money was frozen. And I was in my quiet, orderly apartment, preparing for an interview that would take me 1,000 miles away from all of it, with a $30,000 raise. They were trapped in the fire they had built, and I was booking my flight out. Elliot and I had a name for it. We called it the Ambush Theater. Their lawyer, Simmons, had refused to communicate via email after Elliot's initial warning. Instead, he had routed the request for an emergency family intervention through my Aunt Elaine, who had called me, sobbing. Your mother is not eating. Harper, your father is a ghost. You are tearing them apart. Just come. Just talk. I had forwarded the time and place to Elliot. His response was tactical. They are trying to get you in a room, away from me, and use emotional weight to make you fold. It is a classic move. So we are going to counter-program it. You will go, you will be polite, you will be reasonable, and you will record every single second. Place me on mute in your pocket. I will be your silent witness. This is not a negotiation. Harper, this is a deposition, and you are the one asking the questions. So I went. Aunt Elaine's house smelled like it always did. Old roses, dust, and instant coffee. It was the designated neutral territory, which meant it was the one place my mother's performance of grief would be most protected. They were all there. The living room was staged. Aunt Elaine sat on a wingback chair, dabbing her eyes. My mother, Diane, was on the sofa, looking thin and pale, a tragic heroine. My father, Russell, stood by the cold fireplace, his arms crossed, trying to look imposing, but just looking tired. And on the love seat, a united front of denial, were Lila and her boyfriend, Ty, and in the center, in the good armchair, was Simmons, their lawyer. He had an expensive briefcase open on the floor. Boxes of tissues had been placed, with theatrical precision, on every available surface. Harper, thank you for coming, Simmons said. Standing, he had a smooth, condescending voice, the kind that pretended to be reasonable while it picked your pocket. This is a good sign. It shows you are willing to put family first. I am willing to listen, I said. I sat opposite him, alone on a stiff-backed chair I had pulled from the dining room. I placed my phone on the small table next to me. Screen down. Good, Simmons said, sitting again. Look, no one here wants a war. This whole situation, it has been a terrible, terrible misunderstanding. Wires got crossed. Things were signed in haste. But the intent, Harper, the intent was to help Lila build a dream. I said nothing. I just watched. Your parents are heartbroken, he continued, gesturing to Diane, who produced a perfectly timed sob. They are also, let's be frank, terrified. They are looking at bank investigations. They are looking at state inquiries, all because of a family matter. He leaned forward, pulling a single sheet of paper from his briefcase. He slid it onto the coffee table. So here is what we are proposing: a global settlement, an internal solution. I looked at the paper. It was not a legal document. It was a list. 1. Harper Lane will immediately contact the bank and the police and rescind all complaints, stating it was a family misunderstanding. 2. The family will not pursue a sale of the house at this time. 3. To resolve the outstanding HELOC, Harper Lane will agree to assume the $65,000 debt on a temporary basis. 4. Lila Gale will sign a personal note, promising to repay Harper the full $65,000, plus interest, after her company's Series A funding is secured. I read it twice. My blood did not boil. It turned to ice. They were not just asking me to drop the charges. They were asking me to pay for the crime. They were asking me to finance my own robbery. This is your offer, I said. It was a statement. It is a starting point, Simmons said, smiling his oily smile. It keeps this private. It makes everyone whole. Lila gets her funding, the bank gets paid, and you get your family back. I see. I looked up from the paper. I looked at Lila. This Series A funding, who is the lead investor? Lila blinked. What? The name of the venture capital firm that is leading your Series A round, I said, my voice as calm as a lecture. What is their name? Lila looked at Ty. Well, we are in talks with several. Which ones? What are the terms? What is the pre-money valuation? You are asking me to stake $65,000 on this funding round. I am now your primary investor. So, pitch me. Silence. Lila's face flushed. Ty shifted, looking at the floor. They had nothing. There was no investor. There was never an investor. The entire Portland trip was a lie to cover the fraud. They do not have a name, do they, Mr. Simmons? I asked. There is no Series A. This personal note is worthless. This document is asking me to give my sister $65,000 with no recourse in exchange for covering up multiple felonies. Is that a correct summary? Simmons's smile faltered. Now, Harper, that is a very cynical way to— It is an analytical way. It is the only way. My mother saw the logic was failing. It was her cue. Harper, she whispered, her voice cracking. She reached for a photo album on the shelf beside her. Honey, look. She opened it. A picture of me, age 7, on a pony, a picture of all of us at Lake Arrowhead. Me and Lila in matching swimsuits. Remember this, honey? Lake Arrowhead? You and Lila. You were inseparable. You held her hand the entire boat ride. You protected her. We were so happy. Can we not go back to this? Can you not find it in your heart to protect your sister one more time? This legal. It is all so cold. We are not cold. We are your family. I looked at the photograph, the smiling girl in the swimsuit, the smiling mother. It was a performance. Even then, I reached out and slowly, gently, closed the cover of the album. We are not at Lake Arrowhead, Diane, I said, my voice soft but unyielding. We are in a room discussing bank fraud. You are asking me to protect a 25-year-old woman who forged a legal document and stole $65,000. I am done protecting her. I am done being the background for her. Ty, the boyfriend, suddenly spoke up. He had been quiet, but the attack on Lila had finally registered. Wow, he scoffed. You really are? I mean, people are going to think you are just jealous. I turned my head slowly to look at him. Jealous? Yeah, he said, emboldened. Jealous. Lila told me. You have always been. You are just bitter. And you are so cold. You are just burning her life down because you do not have one. I nodded. Thank you. Ty, you have clarified the family position. The official defense is not, it did not happen. The official defense is, Harper is jealous. I picked up my phone from the table. Jealous, I repeated. Let me be clear about what I am supposedly jealous of. I tapped the screen. I opened my email. I angled the screen so they could all see the bright, clean logo. This, I said, is an email from Blue Ridge Data in Denver. It is a formal offer of employment for the position of Senior Data Strategist. I received it yesterday. I scrolled down. And this is the compensation package. It includes a $30,000 raise over my current salary. The room was silent. I am not jealous of a fake company with no investors. Lila, I said. I am busy getting headhunted. I accepted the offer this morning. My mother's face, which had been pale, was now a ghostly white. Denver? You are moving? I am, I said. Which brings me to my next point. I swiped to a different email, a confirmation receipt. This is the executed lease for my new apartment, and this is the confirmation for the one-way moving truck. It is booked for next Friday. Their faces, it was not anger, it was not sadness, it was the blank, hollow look of total shock. Their primary leverage, my proximity, my enmeshment, the family they held hostage, was not just gone, it was packed. Simmons, the lawyer, was the first to recover. He saw his case and his fee evaporating. He stood up, his face hardening, his oily voice turning to gravel. Ms. Lane, he said, trying to sound threatening, if you persist with this course of action, if you refuse this generous settlement, I must advise you that there will be significant consequences. You are slandering the Gale name. You are obstructing a family's attempt to heal. We will countersue for harassment and defamation. You are making a very, very big mistake. I just looked at him. I smiled. A small, tight, analytical smile. Consequences, I said. That is an interesting word. I tapped my phone, which was still in my hand. I unmuted the call. Elliot, are you still there? A new voice, crisp, clear, and full of authority, filled the living room. I am right here. Harper, good afternoon. Mr. Simmons, good afternoon. Gale family. Aunt Elaine gasped. Simmons looked as if he had been tasered. He spun around, looking for the source of the voice. Mr. Simmons, Elliot's voice continued from my phone. My name is Elliot Ramos. I am Harper's counsel. I have been listening to this entire intervention for the last 20 minutes, and I have to say, it is fascinating. This is an illegal recording, Simmons stammered. Oregon is a one-party consent state, Mr. Simmons, as I'm sure you know, Elliot said breezily, and I am not here to discuss that. I am here to discuss your last statement. Did you just threaten my client with significant consequences if she refuses to rescind her factual, evidence-based complaints to the police and a federally insured bank? Simmons was speechless. Because, sir, Elliot continued, his voice turning to steel, my client is a material witness in an active federal bank fraud investigation. Your settlement offer is a textbook attempt to buy her silence and conceal a crime. Your threats constitute witness tampering and obstruction of justice. So, I will ask you again, in front of all of these witnesses, are you, on behalf of your clients, sure you want to go on record with that? No one spoke. The only sound was the ticking of the grandfather clock in Aunt Elaine's hallway. I stood up. While Elliot's warning hung in the air, I typed a quick email on my phone. To Simmons, Elliot, subject, Gale family matter. Body, Mr. Simmons, I am formally rejecting your settlement offer, which I find to be made in bad faith. All future communication must go through my attorney. Mr. Ramos, I will not be participating in any further attempts to conceal your client's criminal activity. I hit send. I have just sent my formal rejection, I said to the room. My lawyer is copied. My father finally broke. The fear and shock were gone, replaced by the red-faced, primal rage I had known all my life. You recorded us? He roared, taking a step toward me. You set us up. This was a trap. You, outside. You are out of this family. I looked at him, the last, pathetic roar of an empty king. You set this up, Russell, I said, walking to the door. This ambush, this theater, you wanted a performance. I just brought a better script. I stopped at the doorway, turning back to the room of stunned, silent faces. I am done, I said. I am done choosing your comfort over the truth. I turned to leave. Oh, one last thing, I said, pausing. I forgot to give you this. I reached into my bag and pulled out a stack of envelopes. I tossed them onto the coffee table, on top of Simmons's pathetic settlement offer. Those arrived from the state yesterday. They are summonses, from the notary board. They are compelling you all to testify at a formal hearing about the forged signature on the HELOC. I believe Lila, Ty, Diane, and Russell are all named. I looked at Simmons. I will see you all at the deposition. I walked out of the house. I did not look back. I left them all there, silent, with the photo album, the useless tissues, and the legal papers that would finish the job. The email that landed in my inbox was no longer from the generic bank fraud department. It was from a person, Michael Srinivasan, lead investigator, corporate security. His tone was not accommodating. It was surgical. He confirmed receipt of my file and stated that the bank was escalating this matter internally to our chief legal counsel and moving to recover all assets and pursue all available criminal charges. The machine was no longer warming up. It was fully engaged. My appointment with Detective Alvarez at the Maple Ridge Police Station was the following afternoon. It was a quiet, formal affair. I sat in a small, windowless room that smelled of stale coffee and paper. It was not an interview. It was a confirmation. Ms. Lane, I have reviewed your file, Alvarez said, not looking up. She had my entire Gale fraud case printed out. It is the most comprehensive civilian-compiled report I have ever seen. Are you ready to sign your official sworn statement? I am, I said. She turned the paper around. I signed my name. I signed that I attested, under penalty of perjury, that the forgery was real, the threats were real, and the timeline was accurate. A technician in a polo shirt came in and took a forensic image of my family receipts folder and the audio files. Then, I spent 20 minutes providing official handwriting samples. I wrote Russell Gale in cursive and print. I wrote Lila Gale. I wrote the dollar amounts. I wrote the words, bridge funding. Each stroke of the pen felt like a hammer blow, driving a nail into the legal coffin I had built. That Friday, my team at Northlight insisted on throwing me a party. It was a combined congratulations and farewell celebration for my new role at Blue Ridge Data. My manager, David, stood on a chair and raised a glass of cheap champagne. "To Harper," he said, his voice echoing in the crowded break room. "The only person I know who can make a VLOOKUP spreadsheet look like a work of art. She is not just an analyst. She is a truth teller. Our loss is Denver's gain. We are incredibly proud of you." People clapped. My colleagues hugged me. They gave me a gift card and a potted plant for my new apartment. I smiled. I ate a slice of sheet cake, and I thanked them. It was a bizarre, out-of-body experience. I was here, in this bright room, being celebrated for my competence, my skills, and my future. I was a person stepping through a wide-open door, across town. My family was in a room of their own, with all the doors and windows sealed shut. Lila, true to form, was still trying to claw her way out. Her smear campaign on social media had died after the barbecue, but her desperation had reached a new, more public level. She had contacted a local, semi-popular finance blogger, a man known for his hot takes on local visionaries. The post went live on Wednesday morning, and it was a masterpiece of self-pity. Portland's next tech star, Lila Gale, attacked by her own family, the headline screamed. It was her Facebook post. Recycled as an exclusive interview, it painted me as the toxic, jealous sister who was trying to sabotage her dream. It was, unequivocally, the single most catastrophic mistake she could have made. The post was public for less than 1 hour. The blogger had foolishly left the comments on. The digital world did what I never could. It audited her, in real time. The first comment: "This story is nonsense. I am a realtor. A $65,000 HELOC was filed on that property 3 weeks ago. How is the sister sabotaging it if the money was already spent?" The second comment: "Wait, is this the same Lila Gale who has been soliciting investments at coffee shops? And is notary's name the notary she used? Because he was just suspended by the state for fraud." The third comment: "This is not a toxic sister. This is a public record of bank fraud. Taking this post down in 5, 4, 3. The blogger, seeing his exclusive turning into his own public humiliation, deleted the entire article, but it was too late. I had the screenshots. So did Elliot. Then Marin, my friend, the loan officer, delivered the final digital smoking gun. The police and the bank had successfully subpoenaed the notary's email server. "You are not going to believe this. Har." Her text read. It was a screenshot of an email. From Lila Gale, vision@gmail.com, to notary's name. Subject: quick question. "Hi, Ty gave me your number. I have those bank papers my dad needs signed, but he is out of town all week for a conference. I really need to get them filed today so I can get my investor money unlocked. It is super urgent. Is there any way you can just push it through for me? I can Venmo you extra for the trouble. It is just a formality. Let me know." The timestamp was from the morning of October 3rd, the day the HELOC was filed. It was not just forgery, it was a documented, premeditated conspiracy. I forwarded it to Elliot. His reply was just 4 sentences. "It is over. We have motive. The fictitious, investor money. We have opportunity. The compromised notary. We have the act, the email and the forgery. And we have the cover-up and coercion, the threats, the blog, the harassment. This is no longer a legal fight. This is just a matter of logistics. Russell was also realizing it was over. He was in full panic. His last desperate move was to try and hide the primary asset. A cheap, handwritten, for sale by owner sign appeared on the lawn of 1214 Elm Ridge Drive. Cash buyers only, must close in 3 days. He was trying to liquidate the house before the bank seized it. It was a futile gesture. A potential buyer's attorney ran a standard title search on the property. He found the $65,000 HELOC. More importantly, he found the lis pendens that Elliott and the bank's lawyers had filed. A formal notice that the property was the subject of active litigation. The title was toxic. The deal was canceled in less than an hour. The final escape hatch was welded shut. Then came the last, pathetic plea. A phone call from my mother. Diane, I answered, putting the phone on speaker for my audio log. Harper, please. Her voice was not just sad, it was thin, reedy, and terrified. Harper, just this once. I know I have said that, but this is the last time. I swear on my life. Your father. She choked back a sob. The IRS. They are looking at his old returns. From the truck. From my dental work. All that money you loaned us. All those years. We never declared it. We told them it was gifts, but it looks like something else. It looks like other fraud. They are asking questions. Harper. I waited. If you just tell them it was all a loan, or that you took the HELOC, just take this one thing. Harper, please, tell them it was a mistake. Tell them it was your mistake. It will all go away. You will ruin us. It was the most astonishing request I had ever heard. After all this, after the forgery, the theft, the lies, she was asking me to commit perjury. She was asking me to confess to their crimes, to save them from other crimes I had been unknowingly enabling for 7 years. No, Mom, I said. My voice was quiet. Harper, please, just this once. You used that phrase to get $10,000 for Lila's boot camp. You used it to get $5,000 for your veneers. You have used just this once to drain $94,000 of my life. There are no more just this onces. There is only the truth. Do not call me again. I hung up the phone. The next morning was Friday. My moving truck, the one-way rental to Denver, was parked on the street outside my apartment. I stood in the living room, and for the first time, my footsteps echoed. I carried my last box down in the elevator. It was a small box. It held my work laptop, my new black notebook, and one binder. I looked at the contents of the 26-foot truck, my bed, my desk, a chair, a few boxes of clothes and books. It was a laughably small amount of stuff for a 33-year-old woman. I realized, with a cold, clear shock, that I had accumulated almost nothing for myself. My entire adult life had been spent subsidizing theirs. Their house, their cars, their teeth, their dreams. I was not sad. I felt light. I was a blank spreadsheet. I grabbed the heavy roll door of the truck and pulled it down. It slammed into the metal frame with a deafening, final clang. As I was locking the heavy-duty padlock, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was an email from Michael Srinivasan, the bank investigator. He had copied Elliott. He had copied Detective Alvarez. He had also copied Mr. Simmons, their lawyer. Subject: mandatory in-person meeting. Gale fraud case. To all parties, this is a formal summons. A final, in-person resolution meeting has been scheduled for this evening. Friday, at 7 p.m., the meeting will be held at the Maple Ridge Community Center, Room B, the bank's legal counsel, a representative from the district attorney's office, and all involved parties, Russell Gale, Diane Gale, Lila Gale, and Harper Lane, are required to attend. This will be the final opportunity to present information before formal charges are filed. This was it, the finale. Not an intervention at Aunt Elaine's, a formal, legal showdown in a neutral, public space. I drove the truck to the rental agency's overnight lot. I would pick it up in the morning. First, I stopped at the rental agency's business center. I logged into my secure cloud storage. I opened the master file, the one I had been building for weeks, the timeline, the signature comparisons, the text logs, the social media screenshots, the transcripts of the audio files, the screenshot of Lila's email to the notary. I clicked print, the printer in the corner whirred to life, spitting out page after page of evidence, a 30-page document, a perfect, undeniable record. I pulled the warm stack from the tray and slid it into a clean black binder. The cover page was simple. Timeline Truth, PDF. I had my script. I was ready for the final scene. The Maple Ridge Community Center, Room B, was a sterile box of beige walls, humming fluorescent lights, and the sour, institutional smell of stale coffee and industrial floor wax. It was a room built for zoning appeals and blood drives. Tonight, it was a gallows. I sat at one end of a long, folding table, my black binder, Timeline Truth, PDF, open in front of me. Elliot Ramos sat to my left, a silent, sharp-suited incarnation of legal authority. At the far end of the table, flanked by their visibly sweating lawyer, Simmons, sat Russell, Diane, and Lila, Ty, the boyfriend, sat in a plastic chair just behind them, trying to look like a piece of the beige wallpaper. At the head of the table, commanding the room, sat Michael Srinivasan, the bank's lead investigator, and Detective Alvarez. Against the wall, on a chair of his own, sat the suspended notary, looking small and pale. In the back row, the audience, Aunt Clara, Cousin Mark, and Mary Beth, the neighbor. They had been summoned by the bank as character witnesses, and perhaps by Russell, in a final foolish appeal to community. They looked like they would rather be anywhere else. "We are here," Srinivasan began, his voice cutting through the hum of the lights, "to finalize the investigation into the fraudulent acquisition of a $65,000 home equity line of credit. The facts are not in dispute. The loan was taken, the money was moved. The only question is culpability." He looked at Simmons. "Mr. Simmons, the defense for your client, Ms. Lila Gale, is that she had verbal consent from her parents. Is that correct?" Simmons cleared his throat. "That is correct. It was a family agreement. Lila was acting as her father's agent." "I see." Srinivasan turned his gaze to Lila. "Ms. Gale, can you provide any evidence of this verbal consent? A text message? An email? A voicemail?" Lila shook her head, her hair lank. "No, we decided at dinner. They told me to do it. They wanted me to have the money for my company." "You have no proof," Srinivasan stated. He then turned to the notary. "Mr. Notary's name. You are here under subpoena. Did you, on October 3rd, meet with Russell Gale to witness his signature?" The notary's hands were shaking. He looked at the floor. No, sir. I was in Portland. I met with Ms. Gale at a coffee shop. She said her father was out of town, that it was an emergency." "And yet you notarized his signature," Detective Alvarez cut in, her voice flat. She said it was just a formality," he whispered. "She paid me extra, for the trouble, $200. "How did she pay you?" Srinivasan asked. "Venmo," the notary said, his voice cracking. Srinivasan looked down at his file. "We have that record, a Venmo payment for notary rush fee. Only, it did not come from Lila Gale. The payment came from the account of Ty." Every head in the room swiveled. Ty, the boyfriend, looked like he had been shot. He was frozen. Srinivasan did not wait. He clicked a remote. A projector lit up the wall. The first image was Lila's email to the notary. My friend Marin had found it. "I really need to get them filed today so I can get my investor money unlocked." Srinivasan read aloud. Is there any way you can just push it through for me? I can Venmo you extra." He clicked again. The next image was the driver's license photo Lila had attached. The ID of Russell Gale. Our forensics team noted the abnormal cropping and low resolution. It is a photograph of another photograph. He clicked again. 2 signatures, side by side. My father's, from the refinance, the forgery, from the HELOC. The bank's branch manager, George Keller, and our own analysts concur with Ms. Harper Lane's file. The signature is a clear forgery, most notably lacking the distinctive terminal stroke on the E in Gale. Russell, seeing his daughter cornered, played his last card. He stood up, slamming his hands on the table. "Enough! This is my fault. Stop bullying her. I hurt my hand that week. I was on painkillers. I told her to sign for me. I gave her consent. It is all on me. Punish me." It was a noble, fatherly sacrifice. Simmons looked relieved. Diane looked at Russell with tearful gratitude. Srinivasan did not blink. He looked at Russell with cold pity. "That is a very interesting claim. Mr. Gale," he said. He clicked to the next slide. It was a screenshot of a file's metadata. Because the original source PDF file for the application, the one submitted to our bank, was not created by you, the metadata is immutable. File created, October 2nd, author, Lila's MacBook Pro, last modified, Lila G. He looked directly at Russell. "Your daughter created this fraudulent document on her laptop 2 days before she even met the notary. Your story does not fit the data." Russell's face went slack. He stared at his daughter. His noble sacrifice exposed as a useless, pathetic lie. Lila looked at him. She looked at her mother, and then she collapsed. It was not a cry. It was a horrifying animal sound of complete and total despair, a choking sob that tore out of her. Diane leaped to her feet. "Stop it! Stop it! You are monsters! She made a mistake. We knew after she took the money. She told us, and we were going to handle it. We told Harper. We told her to keep it in the house. You cannot ruin her entire life for one stupid mistake." Simmons put his head in his hands. Detective Alvarez just kept writing. Diane had just confessed, in front of a police officer and a bank investigator, to conspiracy and obstruction. Srinivasan stood up. "Thank you, Mrs. Gale. That clarifies the timeline. Based on that confession and the overwhelming physical evidence, the bank's position is final. We are recommending the district attorney pursue full criminal charges against Lila Gale for felony forgery, bank fraud, and wire fraud. We are recommending charges against Russell and Diane Gale for conspiracy to defraud and obstruction. We are, of course, pursuing the immediate and full civil recovery of the $65,000, and this entire file will be submitted to the state for the permanent revocation of notary's name's license." Simmons started to bluster. "Now, Michael, let's not be hasty. A trial." Elliot held up his hand, silencing him. "We are well past hasty, Mr. Simmons. My client, however, is not your concern. Mr. Srinivasan, Detective Alvarez, my client, Harper Lane, is the party who was victimized by this conspiracy. Her assets were leveraged, her good name was used, and she was subjected to a campaign of coercion, all of which we have documented. We are asking for an on-the-record agreement to be signed tonight, formally separating Harper Lane from any and all liability associated with this fraudulent debt. She is the bank's cooperating witness." "That is correct," Alvarez said, nodding. "Ms. Lane is the victim and the witness who broke this case. She holds no liability." That was the word that broke my father. "Liability?" he roared, his chair scraping back. "She did this. She tore this family apart. We were a family. We were fine. She broke us. All of this circus. It is her fault." Aunt Clara and Cousin Mark, in the back, nodded in agreement. "It is just tragic," Clara whispered. I did not say a word. I reached into my bag, took out my phone, and pressed play. My own voice, from weeks ago, filled the beige room, clear as a bell. So I am forbidden from calling the bank. And then Russell's voice, low and thick with rage. You are absolutely forbidden. You will destroy this family. This stays in this room. Do you understand me? I hit stop. The silence was absolute. Aunt Clara's face was a mask of shock. Russell looked like I had physically struck him. Srinivasan, cold and methodical, was not finished. He had one last slide. Mr. Gale, you think Ms. Lane started this? The fraud, however, was far deeper. He turned to Lila. Ms. Gale, your entire justification was your investor, the bridge funding. We looked for them. He projected an email. It looked professional. From GVA Ventures at Invest, Net, subject, term sheet. This is the investor email you showed your parents, correct? The one justifying the emergency? Lila, confused, nodded. We traced the domain, Srinivasan said. Invest, Net. It was purchased 4 months ago on a bulk registration site for $9.99. It was registered to Lila Gale at your home address. You faked your own venture capital firm. You wrote your own term sheets. There was never any investor. Diane let out a low, wounded moan. And you? Srinivasan said, turning to Ty, who was now as white as the wall. We have the messages between you and the local blogger. You sold him screenshots of your fake investment calls where you were likely pretending to be the investor, for $200. Aunt Clara stood up from her chair in the back. Oh, my God, Lila, you lied? You lied about all of it? You made it all up? The jealous sister narrative, the one they had all bought, disintegrated in the fluorescent lights. The audience, my family, my neighbors, stared at Lila, Diane, and Russell, and for the first time, they saw them for exactly what they were. Detective Alvarez, Srinivasan said, packing his laptop. The case is yours, Mr. Ramos. We will have the liability separation agreement messengered to your office for Ms. Lane's signature. I stood up. I closed my black binder. I signed the final witness statement Alvarez slid in front of me. I looked at the three of them. My father, a defeated old man. My mother, weeping silently. My sister, an exposed, hollow fraud. I chose truth and boundaries, I said to the room. The rest is the consequence of your choices. I turned and walked out of the community center. Room B. I did not look back. The cold, clean night air hit my face. It smelled like rain, and like freedom. I got into my car. My truck keys were heavy in my pocket. My phone, sitting on the passenger seat, lit up. It was an email from Blue Ridge Data, Denver. Subject: Welcome aboard. Harper, we are thrilled you have accepted. Your onboarding packet is attached. We will see you on Monday. I started the engine. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I saw the lights in room B click off, plunging the room and my past into darkness. The old script was over. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I would love to know where you are all listening from. So drop a comment below and let us connect. Please be sure to subscribe to Lila Revenge Stories, like this video, and hit that hype button so this story can reach even more people who need to hear it.